Welcome to the PinLeader Podcast, where strategic leaders get straight to the topics, strengthening our awareness and sharpening our minds. The PinLeader Podcast is produced by Roar, a production division of Mays & Associates Ltd. Find out more at www.maysassociatesltd.com. Now here is your award-winning host, Dr. Shanda Gore.
And welcome to the PinLeader Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about letting service shine. And I am so glad to have with me Mr. Anthony Bruno, who is the president of J. Foster Jewelers, a family-owned business serving the Toledo area since 1994. He also serves as a councilman, bringing his passion for leadership, community, and service to both roles. So thank you so much for joining me, Anthony.
Dr. G, it's great to be here today.
Excellent. Well, we're going to get right into it because, customer service, you are known for customer service and how it can really make an impact with your clients that you serve. And I have to say, I've not seen such levels of customer service. And I see with you, jewelry purchases are often tied to life's most meaningful moments. How do you and your team create an experience that matches that significance?
Well, I think the primary thing is we often recognize that we're not just selling jewelry. We're helping people, celebrate those big milestones like engagements, anniversaries, family traditions. We take time to understand what's important to each customer, each individual. We make the process simple. Again, that customer service is the core. We keep it pressure-free, an enjoyable, memorable process, because at the end of the day, it is about creating a memory around that purchase, not just the piece itself.
Mm-hmm. I often say to clients that you really need to understand that memories are made through sometimes emotional attachments.
Absolutely.
It could be positive, it could be negative, but there's also people just remember that how they feel. You're creating that experience, those memories through people's feelings too when they come in. How do you build trust when you're building relationships?
I've always said that trust, especially in business, is really built through consistency. So when you take care of someone over and over and they understand that coming back to your establishment, they're going to get that same level of customer service, it builds the trust. We've been in business now for over 30 years and we stand behind, every piece that we sell, and we offer a lot of different services to people, whether that be complimentary sizings. We do a lifetime diamond trade-in. And we do all of our repairs in-house. Your jewelry never leaves our store. We strive to not just have that single transaction with a customer. For a lot of people, we become the family's jeweler for generations. And that kind of trust only comes from, doing the right thing every single time that you help someone.
Mm-hmm. How do you train and inspire your team to provide that high level of customer service that you're talking about?
Personally, I say it starts with leading by example.
Okay.
I set expectations and I tell my staff, I said, we're going to provide a red carpet experience for people. And, we train our team not only on product knowledge, but really on listening skills and understanding what the customer really wants. We have a lot of things in our cases that may not match exactly what someone is looking for. And rather than try to sell them something that we have, we're going to build it. We're going to customize it. We're going to create what the customer came in wanting, or maybe the vision that they had. When the team that works for me sees the impact that this kind of service has, those customers keep coming back. They just keep coming back. I think it inspires not only myself, but people that work with me to keep that bar high.
Mm-hmm. Well, they see you by leading by example, like you said, and then the team watching. And do you do development? Just curious on how, because especially if it's a major purchase for some families, when people have decided to go with you, do you mentor someone when they're going through the purchase with the client?
Yes, I would say it kind of comes naturally. I would think that when someone starts helping someone find something that they want, or I think the biggest thing is I often will tell my staff members, you need to get right to the core or right to the bottom line of what the person is trying to accomplish. It could be an engagement, an anniversary, a gift for someone going through a tough time, or something to just brighten someone's day. So when you are able to get down to the bottom line and really figure out what that person wants or needs, it kind of comes naturally in the assisting process.
Mm-hmm. What role does empathy play in leadership? And especially with the customer interactions, because you just mentioned some of that when a client comes in. But can you expound on that?
Well, really, it's at the core of both, because in leadership, it allows you to understand your team's challenges and, help them grow. And with customers, empathy ensures that you're not just selling, it's stating that you truly understand what they need. And that could be, down to whether it's a piece of jewelry that fits their budget, or maybe even a repair that brings back or restores or reinstates the heirloom, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it could be that they bring something in that potentially might not be of high value, but where that empathy is it's saying, you understand that it's not of high value, but doing this repair or this restoration is value to their sentimental, right? The sentiment. And I think, like, when you're helping people, right? When people feel understood, they feel valued.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that be your team, your customers, associates that surround you, being understood, it helps you feel valued.
I was just thinking about explaining and how you have to be such an active listener for a solid customer service to happen. Do you have like an average time that you have someone that comes in that may not know what they want, but they know they need to have something meaningful when they leave the store?
That is truly up to the person, for sure. It can be as easy as someone coming in with a photo of something that they want, and that's going to be pretty quick. But it can also be a person in the very early stages of looking for a piece. And you might help that customer for 2 to 3 months, because they might need to establish what a finger size is, potentially establishing exactly what the person likes, right? So it could be they come in, they get an idea, and then they leave, and they might use some probing questions to, do you like yellow gold? Do you like white gold? What shape diamond do you like? Then there's those people shopping that when they see it, that's when they buy.
Now you've handled such very beautiful pieces, as well as, like you said, those that may not have an intrinsic value but it means something to the individual. One thing I've noticed too is that you do have that very much white glove approach to every piece that you handle. And that sounds like that you were mentored in customer service. Can you talk a little bit about that history?
I first started in the jewelry business at a very young age. So I called it my hanging around days at Southwick Mall. And my uncle started the business, and my dad became a partner working with him pretty early in the business. And those two, they had a difficult, if you will, difficult go, because they were starting a new business.
Mm-hmm.
And starting a new business is, it's something that takes a lot of time and a lot of effort, and there is a lot of risk involved. So with that being said, there's some grit behind it. But I was able to get involved in the business probably when the business was about 6-7 years old. So it had been going for some time. And a lot of what I'm talking about is making people feel understood, valued, making sure people want to come back. You don't want just a single transaction customer. You want someone to be excited to come back. And, I'll be the first to admit, I love buying things. I love shopping. And there's got to be something, there's something said that when you're excited to go spend money,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it's the whole experience. That's what I like to give people, is an experience, something that they can remember.
Mm-hmm. You just touched on something about with the small business side, especially for those listening who are sole proprietors out there, and maybe they're struggling with starting. They've just maybe got a year or two under their belt, or maybe they're in their 5th year and they're just like, I'm not sure if I'm going to keep this up. What advice would you give other small business owners about keeping customer service at the heart of their business model, especially if they're struggling?
Well, I think this can be said for people that are recent startups, or people that are maybe getting into a business that has been around for 30 years. The most important thing is to not lose sight of why you started, why the business started, what you're trying to accomplish. What was that original goal? And I understand, it's easy to get caught up in numbers and marketing, and of course, day-to-day operations. That takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of energy. But at the end of the day, that you have to understand customers remember how you made them feel.
Yes.
And if you take care of your customers like family, success follows naturally. And, I'll digress. And I think you and I had that conversation at the ladies' night that we did for PinLeader.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things that if you can concentrate on the person in front of you, taking care of them, success does come naturally. Because when we get caught up in those numbers and we we talk about goals with our team members and things like that. If we're working just towards a goal regarding numbers, we're losing track, and that's distracting in terms of the relationship building.
Mm-hmm. I think people can sense that too. When you can walk into a room and know that you are being valued, I can't stress enough how important it is to make sure that individuals are greeted, especially when they cross over that threshold. I've been disappointed in kind of that characteristic of, well, if people greet you, it's because of trying to keep down theft. No, it is a customer service need.
Absolutely, it is.
To greet someone.
So my uncle actually owned 4 or 5 Pandora franchises. And alongside J. Foster Jewelers, I would work at the Pandora stores. What was interesting with the Pandora stores versus J. Foster Jewelers, there was a true corporate handbook that went with that because it's a large corporation. And one of the biggest things that they said was when someone walks into your store, you should greet them within 3 to 5 seconds. And now that might sound kind of aggressive, but greeting someone doesn't need to be, pulling a piece of jewelry out immediately. It's just recognizing someone. And oftentimes when I'm working with someone, if someone comes in, I'm going to greet them even when I'm talking to someone, because I think it's important to feel recognized when you're walking into an establishment of any kind.
Mm-hmm. I can say that I've thought about that, when I've come into a spot, and I've even been sensitive enough where I've seen an individual be greeted before me and I haven't been greeted. And I wondered, well, what's wrong with me that you're not going to even acknowledge that I'm here and I have money to spend? And I think that goes through your mind. So I think the greeting, no matter what, coming in the door, I think the engagement and asking beyond, how are you doing and what are you looking for? Or they come in. And I can think of a couple of instances where I know individuals who have jewelry that it's very sentimental for them, that they don't even want to part with it. They're a little worried that if they let it go, they may not see it again.
It's a major concern, and that's something that I always ensure people that are shopping with us. Our jewelry never leaves our store. We employ 3 full-time jewelers that are in the store Monday through Friday, and that also gives us the opportunity to give a quick turnaround time for someone. You're not going to be without your jewelry for more than 5 to 7 days. If it's really something that we need to accomplish within 24 hours, there is the possibility of doing that. I just remind people that we are more of a high volume store. So although our jeweler is in-house, we have a lot of stuff to do. So that's why that 5 to 7 days comes into play. But if someone needs a sizing and they're leaving for their honeymoon later that evening, we can take care of that.
Well, I want to give you a compliment because another part of your customer service, which is why you're ranked so high, I really appreciate the fact that you are part of the experience all the way, even through the engagement, because I can't say how many times I enjoy looking at engagements of the next generation of those going off to be married and how they take that, whatever they've bought, and now they're going through the process of proposing. It's fun to see those, and that makes it even more personable. And I really appreciate that personal touch you do with that.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, it's excellent. One thing that, because people are going to want to know this, how do you manage dissatisfaction?
When you try to manage someone that's dissatisfied, you go right to the bottom line, I say, and I will always ask them, what can I do today to resolve this problem? And oftentimes I can resolve the problem just by asking them, what's the issue, or what's the dissatisfaction? What's the root of it? And then sometimes I can't. It might be something that's completely out of my control. But most things, I would say that, on the very rare occasion that someone is dissatisfied, it could be something regarding a time frame. That you can read a room and you can tell a person's upset, right? And you ask them, if we're able to speed this process up and get you your ring delivered to you in the next 3 days versus the next 10 days, would that make things better? Oh yeah, absolutely. I'd have it in time for. And most of the time, people that are dissatisfied, they're not going to explain the whole story to you without you asking. Mm-hmm. And it is very important to get on that level with that person and ask them and try to do whatever you can to rectify the situation.
Excellent. All right. So now I'm going to get to some fun questions. At least most of my listeners think they're fun. Is what are you reading or what are you watching? Now, you're not watching Diamonds Are Forever with 007.
I'm not.
So what are you reading? What are you watching?
So right now I'm actually reading a book, and I'm probably reading it for the 5th or 6th time. And it's a book written by someone named Tom Stanley, and it's called The Millionaire Next Door. And first thought, this book, when you read the cover, you see the title, you might think, oh my gosh, it's a book to teach you how to become a millionaire very quickly. Well, it's not. It's a book that analyzes and profiles the average United States millionaire. And it's just a very, very interesting read because it talks about how frugal and humble people are based upon mostly stats from the late 90s. But it's still just a very interesting read to be able to try to grasp that concept that most of these people in the United States that are millionaires are very frugal. Now you ask what I'm watching. I have been watching YouTube videos on how to tie boat lines. And the videos have definitely helped, but I've probably watched the same video sometimes 30 times.
See, you're like the rest of us. I have to watch it over and over again on a loop, practically.
Yes.
Pause, go back, try it again. And I have literally looked at something and said, I still don't get it. I don't understand how they were able to do that. But so you're making knots.
Right. So it's the idea to be able to use fancier lines, right? Or fancier tricks to tie a line than just the traditional. It's something that I've been trying to master, and it's going to take a little bit. It's going to take a little bit.
Oh, well, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, excellent. And I'd like to thank our listeners who are listening to the show, sharing it, liking it. We appreciate you. And don't forget to give your feedback at info@MaysAssociatesLTD.com. We truly appreciate that. We'd also like to thank today's show sponsor, the Maine Intelligence Network. Come be a part of the focused network of entrepreneurs, leaders, executives, and authors committed to sharpening leadership and strategy while scaling ventures with intention. This is a place where practical thinking meets high caliber connection. Check out the Maine at www.MaysAssociatesLTD.com and select Maine on the homepage to learn more and sign up for how you can get connected. And of course, until next time.
The PinLeader Podcast is hosted by Dr. Shanda Gore and brought to you by Mays & Associates LTD, creating customized solutions for growth in the areas of leadership development, strategic planning, and culture building. Find out more at www.MaysAssociatesLTD.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the PinLeader Podcast and share with others.